So there I was, standing next to our city council rep, holding a cup of warm lemonade in one hand and a baby monitor in the other, when flashing red and blue lights started pouring into the yard. At first I thought someone down the street had gotten into trouble. Maybe a traffic stop or some kid's prank went too far. But then the squad car didn't keep moving. It slowed down, turned toward my driveway, and that's when it hit me. The police were here for me. My front lawn was full of folding tables and old books. A few neighbors were browsing a bin of used toys. One kid was trying to sell cupcakes for school. A couple of people from the city council were chatting near the driveway, including the actual councilwoman for our district. That's when I saw the officer step out and scan the crowd. The way his hand hovered near his holster gave me a weird chill. My stomach dropped. I walked up, half confused, half worried, and asked if something was wrong. The officer glanced at his notes and asked if I lived there. Then he said there had been a call about a suspicious gathering involving unlicensed street vending and possible threats. I blinked. I couldn't even find words at first. Right behind me, someone from the planning department laughed, thinking it was a joke. I didn't. Then, across the street, I saw her. Karen, HOA board member, red sun hat, arms folded, watching like she was proud of herself. She was the one who called. Of course she was. I could almost see the gears turning in her head as she spotted every cardboard box and handwritten price tag in my yard. She probably thought this was some kind of black market. What she didn't know, and what made this whole thing truly ridiculous, was that the mayor had been at my place less than 20 minutes earlier, eating a brownie and complimenting my lawn. Karen had no idea what kind of mess she'd just stepped into. And honestly, it would have been hilarious if it wasn't so insane. Let's rewind a bit. This whole mess started with a folding table, a box of baby clothes, and me thinking I could have a normal Saturday. We'd only been living in the neighborhood for a few months. It seemed nice at first. Quiet streets, trimmed lawns, kids riding bikes after school, the usual. Most people waved when they saw us. A couple even brought over cookies. It felt like the kind of place where nothing dramatic ever happened. But then there was Karen. Karen lives across the street, and I swear she spotted our moving truck before we even parked. Her welcome note was tucked into our mailbox by day 2. It was typed, signed in cursive, and basically a list of rules pretending to be a greeting. No shoes left outside, no window stickers. Front yard lighting must be soft-toned and approved. It ended with something like, "Let's keep our community in order." We laughed it off, but yeah, it stuck with us. A few days later, I caught her out front with a tape measure. She was measuring the grass, not hers. Mine. Anyway, back to the garage sale. We were doing some spring cleaning, and I figured we'd throw a few tables out front, sell the baby clothes we didn't need anymore, maybe make $10 off an old blender. We set it up casually, nothing flashy. Just books, toys, some random stuff from the garage. I posted in the local Facebook group, invited a few neighbors, and even made a dumb flyer with clip art. People seemed into it. One neighbor offered to bring muffins. Someone else said they'd bring their dog to hang out. It felt like a small, friendly thing. Nothing wild. Karen didn't say a word. Not online, not in person, not even a glare. Just silence. But that morning, she was out early, sitting in her lawn chair like a security guard on break, arms crossed, sunglasses on, not moving. Every time someone came by, her head would turn. She wasn't exactly hiding it. At one point, she actually wrote something down on a clipboard. I tried to ignore it. We kept things low-key. No speakers, no music, just people chatting and sipping coffee. Still, every time I looked over, she was still there. And then, right before the cops showed up, I saw her pick up her phone. She turned away slightly, like she didn't want anyone to see. And in that moment, I just knew. Turns out she really did it. Karen actually called 911 to report what she described as illegal commerce and a suspicious gathering. That's what the officer told me when he showed up, hand resting near his belt like he was ready to handle something serious. And when I say showed up, I don't mean a quiet knock on the door. No, full sirens, lights flashing, neighbors peeking out from behind curtains. Kids stopped riding their bikes. Even the family dog across the street started barking. For a second, it felt like something big had happened, like a real emergency. Except there wasn't one. There were no shady deals, no stolen goods, no threats, just folding tables, used baby clothes, a few books, a toaster that didn't toast evenly, and a group of people who were literally part of the city's leadership. I'm not kidding. Standing in my driveway were 2 city council members, one of whom had brought me a pie earlier that morning, and a school board rep who was talking about organizing a local food drive. Oh, and a reporter from the neighborhood newsletter who'd been planning to write a light piece called The Softest Garage Sale of the Year. That title aged well. So now picture this. You're hosting a casual garage sale, chatting about cookie recipes, and suddenly, 2 cops step out of a patrol car looking like they're responding to a robbery. Everyone froze. I think one of the councilwomen almost dropped her coffee. I stepped forward, raised my hand slightly, and said, "I live here. What's going on?" The officer explained they got a call about a possible unlicensed street sale and, apparently, a threat. I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. Before I could even answer, the council rep stepped in, flashed her badge, not a police one, just her city ID, and said, "I'm sorry, is this about this garage sale?" The cops looked around again. You could tell they were trying to figure out how to walk this back. They relaxed. One of them apologized. But the damage was done. Everyone at the sale was looking around, wide-eyed, like, did that really just happen? And across the street, there she was. Karen. Standing on her porch with a glass of wine and a smirk like she'd just saved the neighborhood from a crime ring. Except she hadn't. She hadn't just stepped on a rake. She stepped on a landmine. I wasn't mad that she called the cops. Not really. What got under my skin was that she thought she was doing the right thing. That smug little look from across the street, like she just won something. That's what burned. She truly believed she was protecting the neighborhood, like she was some kind of hero instead of the person who almost turned a calm Saturday into a disaster. After the cops left and things settled down, I went inside. My partner was already pacing the kitchen, fuming. She could have gotten someone hurt, they said, and they were right. Imagine if one of those officers had misunderstood something, if someone had panicked. It only takes a second for things to go sideways when people feel threatened. And for what? Selling used puzzles and baby shoes? We sat down and started talking about everything. Not just today, but all the other times she'd pulled stuff like this. That lemonade stand a kid set up last summer? Karen got it shut down for unlicensed food handling. The kid was 7. Or when she called animal control because our dog barked twice during a thunderstorm, and she said it sounded aggressive. Aggressive? He's 10 pounds and afraid of ceiling fans. The more we talked, the clearer it became. Karen didn't just complain. She didn't just dislike things. She used fear as a tool. She made small things feel big so people would fall in line. Most folks just ignored her or gave in because it was easier. But this time? This time she made a mistake. A big one. She tried to pull the same stunt, only now there were actual city officials standing in my driveway. And a police report. And half the neighborhood watching it all unfold in real time. That's when something flipped. I wasn't going to let this slide, not just because she ruined our day, but because she crossed a line that could have put people in real danger. She wanted to report a crime? Fine. Let's file one for real. What she didn't expect was me filing a public records request. I wasn't just going to rant about it online or let it fade away. I wanted to know exactly what she told the police, word for word. So I asked for the 911 transcript, and when it came in, I read it twice. She said there was illegal activity, unauthorized vending, and even mentioned possible threats coming from the crowd. She made it sound like my driveway was a crime scene. All for a garage sale. That's when I knew this couldn't just be brushed off. I pulled out our HOA guidelines and started going through every rule she ever threw at people, the kind printed on bad clip art newsletters and shoved into mailboxes. None of them mentioned garage sales. Not once. So I talked to the city council rep who had been at my house that day. She wasn't just surprised, she was mad. She offered to help flag the call for review and said this kind of thing wasn't new. Apparently, Karen had been a problem before. She just hadn't gotten this bold until now. Then something kind of amazing happened. Other neighbors started speaking up. One woman said Karen once tried to fine her for humming while watering her plants. No joke. Another guy said she reported his wind chimes as a disturbance. Someone else told me she accused their teen son of loitering while waiting for a ride. I started writing it all down. Dates, names, details. It added up fast. By the time I finished, I had found over 15 different complaints she'd made in the past year. Almost all of them were nonsense. I organized everything into one clean report and sent it off to the city's legal office, along with a copy to the HOA compliance team. This wasn't just one bad call anymore. It was a pattern. A loud, messy pattern that had gone unchecked for too long. And then, true to form, Karen panicked. She started handing out flyers about unauthorized gatherings and dangerous influences. She made wild posts in the neighborhood Facebook group, claiming she was being targeted and harassed by radicals. One post said she feared for her safety because of music with heavy bass coming from across the street. It would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. But I didn't respond to any of it. I didn't argue. I didn't stoop to her level. I just kept adding everything to the folder. If she wanted to play authority games, I brought the rule book. The next HOA meeting? Let's just say, it didn't go as she planned. Karen showed up in her usual power outfit. Bright red blazer, giant binder in hand, hair styled like she was about to go on TV. She stood up front, cleared her throat, and launched into a speech about neighborhood values and keeping order. You could tell she thought this was her big moment, her chance to spin everything and get back in control. But the room wasn't with her. Not this time. I sat near the front, folder in my lap, waiting. When she paused to catch her breath, I raised my hand. She tried to ignore it at first, but someone from the board called on me. I stood up, calm and steady, and said I had some things to share with the group. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't attack. I just laid out the facts, the 911 transcript, the bogus complaints, the pattern of harassment. I read her exact words from the emergency call and then showed a printed screenshot of her Facebook post claiming she was the victim. A few people gasped. One guy laughed out loud. Then it started happening. Other neighbors stood up. One after another, they told their own stories. The fines, the warnings, the notes taped to doors. One woman said Karen tried to write her up for planting the wrong kind of flowers. A man near the back said his autistic son was accused of being too loud on the sidewalk. The room started shifting. You could feel it. The polite silence that used to protect her was gone. Karen looked rattled. She started flipping through her binder, trying to interrupt, trying to talk over people. It didn't work. Someone on the board, the treasurer, I think, stood up and said he was done. Said he was resigning that night because he refused to be part of whatever this had become. That hit hard. Karen's face went pale. She tried to push through her speech, but her voice cracked. She gave up halfway through, slammed her binder shut, and stormed out without saying another word. At first the room was quiet. Then someone clapped. And then more joined in. It wasn't loud or wild, just this steady, growing sound that filled the space and felt like fresh air. I looked around and saw people smiling, nodding, finally relaxed. Turns out, when people stand together, tyrants fall fast. She's gone. The big red sign on her perfect green lawn says, "Motivated seller," now, like even the grass is eager to see her leave. No one really saw her pack. One day the blinds were shut. The next, the moving truck rolled in without a sound. Just like that, Karen left the HOA board and the neighborhood. No goodbye notes, no farewell posts, just silence. And honestly, it was the nicest thing she ever gave us. The difference was almost instant. A week later, Marlene, the sweet lady with the cats and the garden full of sunflowers, stepped in as interim president. She didn't hold surprise meetings. She didn't send out threats or warnings. She brought muffins to the first board session and said, "Let's make this neighborhood feel like home again." And people actually clapped. Real claps, not the nervous kind we used to give Karen when we were too scared not to. Something shifted after that. Neighbors started talking more, waving longer, standing in driveways after dark just to chat. Someone put together a block party. Someone else started a book swap box. Even the guy who never spoke to anyone built a little free library in his yard. The whole place felt lighter, like we'd all taken a deep breath at the same time and finally let it out. One afternoon, I was cleaning the garage when I found it. The very first violation Karen ever sent me. It was about my porch light being too bright for the aesthetic tone of the neighborhood. I almost tossed it, but something made me pause. I grabbed a cheap frame and hung it right on the wall next to the breaker box. A little trophy, I guess, a reminder of how far we'd come. A couple of days later, one of my neighbors rang the doorbell and handed me a small package. Inside was a plain black t-shirt with white letters that said, "Garage Sale Gang Leader." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. That shirt is in my drawer now, and every time I see it, I remember how this all started with a few old toys, a folding table, and one very nosy neighbor. I came here to sell some junk. I ended up cleaning out a dictatorship,